Good morning to you, Michael. How are you doing?
Good morning. Buenos dias. Bom dia. I'm doing all right. Feel good right now. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I feel like it's been a long time since we've been on this.
Well, this is the monthly webinar, so it's been
But
1 month.
I think it's been more. I think did we do it last month, or maybe I wasn't
We
on it. I don't
we
know.
do it every month. We do a live
I don't
webinar.
think I was on the last one. It feels longer than a month, but I'm glad to be here.
Right on. Um, I'm excited today. I really like this topic that we're going to touch on. You know, I'm big into systems. Really
Yes.
big into systems. So I feel like it just simplifies everything that one needs to do. So yeah, systems. Gotta think in systems. That's what we're gonna cover today.
It's an important skill if you want
I
to
mean,
scale.
surely when you talk to people, I mean, Amazon marketing, Amazon in general is really complicated, right? And if you go in without a plan, I feel like it's like, look, one of my favorite quotes is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
It's classic. It's a classic one.
You ready for this? In high school, I was a wrestler, did wrestling.
Did you? I did too.
You did?
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was not good.
I was good. I wasn't. I never became great. I was
Yeah.
good.
My record was like 2-20.
That's good.
My record was like 2-20. You want to know why? Because in high school, I was 6 feet tall, 135 pounds. So I
Oh,
was wrestling people who were like 5'6".
you were wrestling
Also,
like me. That would have been me. Yeah, around that
yeah. So like
size.
I was really long and lanky, wrestling
Yeah,
people who were much stronger than I was.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Okay.
Yes. This is a great quote. Mike Tyson making headlines this past weekend. Did you see?
I don't
Mike
know. I
Tyson,
mean, it's
almost 60.
yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm not a fan of the Jake Paul stuff that goes on, but I watch it. So I guess I mean, it pulls me in. That's it. It's eyeballs and money. So
That's exactly. It's like, should we humiliate our sport and make a whole bunch of money? So it's like, I
yeah,
guess the answer is yes.
yeah.
Um,
What's up,
so
Rich? Rich is here.
yeah, the going rich. Um, so I'm really excited about this topic, and I have this quote. But anyway, the wrestling comment was because our wrestling coach had us memorize a list of inspirational quotes. And then if he saw you around school and he would call you and say, give me a quote. And if you couldn't give him a quote, you had to do like 10 push-ups right in front of him, no matter where you were.
Okay, and that was one of them.
That was one of them.
You just pull that out every time, right?
That's right. I also like man on top of a mountain didn't just fall there.
That's a good one.
Good one. Although maybe now they could. So let's jump into it. What I'm about to describe, I believe, is the typical experience to learn anything in the world of Amazon today. And Amazon's a very unique thing. Like if you wanted to learn other things, it wouldn't happen like this. But for Amazon and e-commerce growth strategies, it normally works like this. You go on LinkedIn, you get some tips. You go to a Facebook group, you get other tips. You listen to the PBC Den podcast, you get some tips. You go to YouTube and you get even more tips. What happens at the end of all these tips? What happens at the end of all these tips? You're probably going to be stressed out, lost, and now on top of all of that, overwhelmed, because all you feel like now is that there's a million things to do. You ever meet people like this? I have this experience. Just pure overwhelm.
I do personally at times.
Yeah.
You know, it's information. We're in the information overload age. You know, it's just there's everything everywhere. So
Like learning anything in the world of like, I even feel like it's creeping into other areas of life too. Like if you want to learn running, you want to get good at running, you open up your phone and like there's just like running influencers telling you all about running. And it's like, well, this person's giving me a running tip. That person's giving me a running tip. It's like, what are the foundational things that we're trying to do here? So with, PPC, it sort of works like this. You have trouble with your PPC, you go to Google and you know, start talking to other people. You get exposed to a ton of stuff, and then you still need trouble with your PPC. And I think the thing that breaks this cycle is like, you don't need any more tips. We need a process. John's got a good thing here. Tip overload is no good. Actionable is key.
That's a
Very
quote.
true.
That's
That's
a
a quote
quote.
right
You
there.
could have said that to the wrestling coach. You'd have been like,
Also, John, I love your profile photo. Got some good energy right there.
yeah,
I need
it's
it
fun.
because I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, Michael. I got the G's. I got the allergies right now.
Springtime.
Springtime.
Is it spring? Not quite yet. Almost.
So I'm a big fan, just like sort of what John said, take action, work an actual process, and then you can add more info, right? Like, you almost want your processes to be a machine that gets better with the more information you throw at it. If you don't have a machine humming along and you throw another tip and another tip and another tip in there, if you don't have a machine, it's like, I don't know, it's like painting your house with like 75 different paint colors. It's just like one tip, paint, another tip, paint, instead of like having like a really strong plan that you can add more information into and not be overwhelmed. So the most successful clients that I know, for sure, think about their process, then they work that process, and then when they get new information, they're adding it to that process. They're tweaking their process over time. And this is what the most successful clients do. It would go to argue that the clients who are, I'm not going to call them the least successful, but it's more like the most overwhelmed clients, the ones that feel like they're going 110 miles an hour, but like in actuality, they're driving in circles a little bit, and like they're not making as much progress as the ones that are just like working their process, moving forward slowly. So I'm going to call this I'm going to share today a foundational Amazon PPC process, 14 tasks to rule them all. I think it's 14. It's a foundational Amazon PPC process that's going to allow people to just, if you don't have a process, this is going to be massive. If you do have a process, again, it's just going to add some more perspective into it. So I'm going to be doing a couple things here. The first thing here, and I'll drop this in the link. I'm going to drop this in the chat. So if you don't have this document, you're definitely going to get this document. This is a cool document, adbadger.com/Amazon PPC checklist. And when you go to it, it's right here. When you go to it, this is a collection of pretty much our 200 podcast episodes, 200 plus. I think we're going on 300. But basically what we've done is we've organized this into a really clear plan. So we've organized a lot of content into foundational information, SEO basics, deeper SEO, introduction to Amazon advertising. And if any of the process steps that I talk about are a little unclear, this will serve as a really good foundation for you to work through. So I hope this helps people out. So you can go get that at this link. And it should be in your inbox in like a second if you don't have it. Shout out John again. Having a process is needed. Most folks don't know how to document like SOPs, Notion. Well, hopefully we can clear things up today for people. I agree, John. So we're going to be referring to that. We're going to also be talking about, because this is the Ad Badger customer webinar, we're also going to be talking a bit about how to get some of these steps done inside our tool. And I got feedback one time. Typically on our podcast we don't talk about our tool, And I've received feedback that was like, if the tool is the best way to get something done, that's almost like I'm doing a disservice by not sharing it. So I'll be talking a little bit about our tool, and the other thing I'll also be doing is I'll also be going back and forth to our project management tool, and we use ClickUp, but you can use a Google Sheet, you can use a spreadsheet, you can use an offline Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't really matter, but I highly, highly recommend someone to use a task organizer. I use ClickUp. So I'm going to be filling out a ClickUp here too, which hopefully people really appreciate. I can share this and you can sort of export it as well. So without further ado, I would like to sort of begin that process and begin to sort of map out um, these tasks. If that makes sense. So let's jump into that. And here we go. So the first thing that I always recommend people do, my notes. Okay. The first thing that I always recommend people do is you got to review your goals. So a good component of a good task manager is that you can go back and forth between a list and a calendar. So when it comes to goals, this is something that I actually think gets overlooked a lot, believe it or not. Like sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll be talking about their advertising performance, and it's really guided by feeling as opposed to goal based. Like they say, like, oh, it feels like it's not doing what I want. And then you sort of peel it back a little bit, and it's like, well, what's your goal? And it's like to just grow. And I think that's very different than having like the way that you operate. If all you want to do is necessarily grow, but you don't have a growth target or you don't have a growth goal, it really adds context to every single decision that you make. So highly, highly recommended that people review their goals very regularly, to the point where this should be something that I generally write up in the top portion of any project tool that I'm working at. So I'll generally like write this right up top, which is really nice. So write that down and always have it nearby. So reviewing goals, like reviewing your targets, is something that I definitely recommend people do at least daily. Like you should never do any optimization forgetting what your goal is. Just really quick, like what is my goal? What am I trying to accomplish? So that it's always top of mind. So it's just something to sort of put on repeat to always be thinking of your goals. And the next thing, sort of combined with that, if I were to edit this, it would sort of be review goals and daily oh crap check. So basically what you want to do is you always want to verify that, you know, your things aren't you're not going too far off the rails. So I sort of combine both of these things in terms of reviewing goals and basically just double checking if my campaigns are going too far off the rails. Now there's a couple different ways to do this inside Ad Badger. And one thing I really like is to well, let me combine this really quick. It's sort of a 3-step daily check into any account. Review goals, do a daily check, and then trend out your data. So you're basically checking trends here. And the reason why these three things should be done together is because you want to know your target, you want to know if anything's out of bounds, and you want to know if you're trending in the right direction or not. So this is such a key integral step that one should really do daily. So it's sort of like 3 steps in one. I know some people would maybe create 3 separate subtasks and just call this the daily check, where you check in on your goals, you see if anything is going way far out of bounds, and then you're checking your trends. So there's a couple different ways that I do this inside Ad Badger. The first thing I go to typically is the trends dashboard. So this sort of tells me how I'm doing in like the last 7 days, and then I can compare it versus a previous period or something like that. Now, if you've seen me give these webinars before, this is a demo account, so the data is going to be pretty strange looking. But for the most part, this sort of landing page, this is the first page we put you in when you log into AdBadger for this very reason, because it accomplishes a couple different things. It gives you, first and foremost, a really quick trend analysis. Like I can see how I'm doing the last 7 days versus the previous 7 days. If I want to go back in time a month, I can see how I'm doing past 7 days versus basically that same period a month ago. It just allows a really quick view into exactly what I need. And if I wanted to zoom it a little differently, I can go last 14 days versus previous 14 days. So it allows really good time versus time analysis, which clues me in terms of like, how am I trending? Am I trending up or am I trending down? So obviously this being a demo account, I mean, the data couldn't look any better here. To move from 1300% ACOS to 430%, that's a pretty solid drop in ACOS. And a pretty big jump in sales and a pretty big jump in orders. But like, this is the kind of thing that you're looking for when you first log in here. Just like, am I going up or am I going down? Which is actually something you can't get inside the default Amazon interface. So it just clues me in. So that's the first thing that I look at. Like, how am I trending? Am I trending in the right direction or in the wrong direction? And since we're here, I should also mention that some people really prefer this view. The difference between this view is that it's telling you like the last 14 days in aggregate. So 610,000 clicks in the last 14 days total. It's not a daily breakdown. And I know some people, the way that their mind works, the way that their brain works, they really like to see trend analysis like this. So this is the exact same data, except it gives it to you by day, which a lot of people really appreciate because it lets them know like how they're trending. So for example, what are my clicks per day doing? So this is each day's clicks. And then I can sort of add in, okay, well, how are my orders progressing? And then how is my ACOS? I can get a trend of my ACOS here. So it's like, okay, now I'm looking at my ACOS by day. So a lot of people like this level of trend analysis because it sort of gives them the day by day or the week by week, which is a really valuable time. So if I can sort of sort this out, I can see, okay, like I'm trending. How am I trending? Like, what's my spend doing today versus my spend doing in the past? And yeah, this is a demo account. This is not actually a real account spending $1.7 million a week. But this is the kind of analysis that you can do. And notice I haven't done any actual optimization yet. I actually haven't changed bids or changed budgets or had critique on individual campaigns. It's intentionally not bogging you down in the weeds just yet, because I want my goals and I want my trends and I want my like pulse check to be at a top level. And then I will investigate based off what I'm seeing. So that's why this very, very first task, which I always recommend people do, is just check your trends and review your goals. And I will also say, um, if you don't know what your goal should be, we have a really nice set of content for everything about goal setting. So like understanding ACOS, what is your break even ACOS, how to calculate pre-ad profit. It's one of my favorite pieces of content that we did, and we actually did it quite some time ago, way back in 2018. A lot of that goal setting is still very relevant today. So do enjoy that in case you don't have it. So far we checked trends and we reviewed goals. Pretty solid stuff. Now, the next stage here is a daily sort of like, oh crap, like what do you not want to happen? So like generally the things that people don't want to happen, they're going to be sort of scanning for individual performance at a keyword and target level. So basically, like, is there a keyword that has behaved in a way that I would consider to be a problem? So it's this sort of like, oh crap check, where it's just like, am I way too far out of bounds? So I always recommend people sort of have a filter set up And Ad Badger makes it easy here. So I can go into Ad Manager and I can sort of check out individual keywords or individual campaigns and basically have a filter that will tell me if anything is going to go way far out of bounds. So here's what I mean by that. If I wanted to just always make sure that I never have a campaign with an ACOS over 75%, we want to save that filter and call it sort of a, over acceptable ACOS, something like that. Save and apply. And that way, when I come and do my checks, I can come in, pick the last 7 days, and then sort of just quickly apply that filter and sort of do save filters, over ACOS. And now I have a list of campaigns that I would consider to be my priorities, to be my list of things that I should take action on. So these saved filters are a really fast way for me to just jump in, find exactly what I want to look for. And, this sort of above acceptable threshold might be 80% for some people. It might be 90%. It might be over 40% for some people. So it's just about, I look at my top level trends, and that sets the stage for my next move, which is going to be to sort of check for anything way far out of bounds. So I love sort of just this general pulse check. And notice I haven't done any action yet. I'm just getting a pulse on my account, which the very best optimizers are really good at just understanding where they are, and they never have surprises. Like they're not sort of just opening up their account and starting to like break up the foundation and move things and bash things in. They just get a pulse check. Just understand where you are, where you're trending, what's your goal, is there anything out of bounds? And that is a really good way to start each day. This is like stretching or like warming up before you exercise. Um, so that's why it's done almost all the time. So this is a really good foundational step, Michael.
I like it. Yeah, and plugging in the software, we have filters that you can save. So you just quickly go in and save. I mean, you just pop those in every day. I mean, that should be where it's like you don't even have to think about this, what to do. It's
So after that, one thing I like to sort of advise people to do is I sort of call it bucket-based bid optimization. So bucket-based bid optimization, and we're going to sort of call this like bucket-based bid optimization in check. So all about bidding. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to be logging in and looking at bid optimization. And I'll sort of go relatively quickly here, but this is something I generally recommend because we're automating a lot of times. It doesn't necessarily need to be a daily thing, but I would definitely recommend at least once a week, you're checking in on your bids and just making sure they are where you want them. So what does that look like inside Ad Badger? So if we go into view all keywords, so this is every single keyword in every single campaign, in every single ad group. So we have about 2,300 keywords here. And one way to really think about buckets is we're going to be combining saved filters that we just looked at, which is going to allow us to find keywords of a certain type very fast. And then we're going to ask ourselves, are there any tweaks that need to get made to this bucket? And like, what do I mean by bucket here? Well, I mean things like, what do I call high ACOS? What do I call low ACOS? So like, I'm going to be able to filter really quickly. You'll see in a second, all these different buckets. We can find things with low clicks. We can find things with high clicks. We can find keywords that are branded. We can find keywords that are unbranded. We can find, all different kinds of things. Maybe you're ranking keywords that you want to get extra aggressive on. Maybe it's, I already mentioned branded. Maybe you have other buckets in terms of seasonality. Maybe you have things like low CVR or low CTR, conversion rate and click-through rate. But essentially what you want to do is you want to not open up your account and then just like start sifting like this, scroll over here. It's like, okay, let me look at my high spend. Okay, let me sort this up and down. You can do that. But really what you want to do is you want to use saved filters to just at the press of a button, see all these buckets. So let's talk about what that looks like here. So I'm in all keywords. And if I wanted to go, you can see here, I already have a lot of saved filters already set up. These are some of the buckets that I've set up for this demo account where it's like, okay, let me view my branded keywords. And, this is a keyword that contains the word badger. So I can just quickly click apply and then see how my branded keywords have been doing in the last 7 days. So I can see sort of in aggregate, I spent $10,000 at a 36% ACOS for these branded keywords. And I can just very quickly get a pulse check about how these branded keywords are doing. If I wanted to flip it and I wanted to do keyword does not contain badger. So these are all my non-branded keywords. I can add that filter. I can save this filter and I can call it non-branded keywords, save and apply set. Now, because this is the demo account, the data is going to be probably identical. Okay, so this actually makes good sense. Your non-branded is going to be at a higher ACOS. So these are keywords that I don't have necessarily a good ACOS on. These are not my branded keywords. So this is at a 53% ACOS. And it just allows you to see. So having these saved filters allows me to take action in a way that's super duper quick. A very common thing is like, let me find my high ACOS keywords. So you can see here, I created a bucket for, clicks over 10, ACOS over 75. I can just click that really quick. And now all of a sudden I see this bucket of spend that's actually pretty expensive. This is 102% ACOS over here. Again, it's a demo account, but it allows me to sort of say, I better take some action on these. Now, if I'm optimizing bids manually, I might come in here and I might say, well, why don't we lower the bids here? So why don't we decrease the bids, by 25%, something like that. So I can just sort of come in here and do this bucket-based bid analysis once a week. I can update this bid and change all these bids at once. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Now, at the same time, if I'm doing bid optimization, I might come in here and I might do some fine grain optimization because I can like work with the algorithm, right? So like this one's being automated with bids by Badger. I can come in here and I can sort of say, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and change the max bid. And it'll sort of tell me my average CPC over the last 30 days was 1284. And maybe I want to keep appearing for this keyword, but I'm going to give it a lower max bid so that it doesn't go up so high. So I can say, don't go above $5 bid. So it's just allowing me once a week to just work with the algorithm, make any tweaks I want with the algorithm. Really cool bulk tools where even if I had thousands and thousands of keywords, I'm able to think in buckets and get a lot of good optimization work done very quickly, which is really, really great. So I really love this sort of process here about optimizing, checking in on the automation. Sometimes people get frustrated with automations, but with us, you can like go in and tweak how the automation is behaving. You can say, don't go above this number, don't go below this bid. It's really nice. So yeah, that's my second step. And I generally recommend that you do that once a week. Maybe if you're spending like $25,000 a month and up, maybe you do this twice a week. But in general, I think I need to go a little bit faster, Michael. We only have 30 minutes left. We've only got two tasks on here. But yeah, bulk bidding adjustments, one of my favorite things to do inside Ad Badger.
Another thing I want to plug real quick is that because there might be some people on here or listening to the recording that look at this and go like, wow, I don't know how to create those. And that's another thing that we offer with our service is like brainstorming strategy. That's something that we can kind of come up with you in a sense, because 2024 advertising, you got to be on top of it, with PPC. No longer is there just set it and forget it. I mean, even with software, you got to be coming in and checking it, right? So that's something that we offer is like brainstorming, strategizing this stuff and coming up with it together because you need to.
Yeah, totally. You know what I was just highlighting here, you can just book a call right inside of our app with an Amazon PPC professional, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
if
want to
any,
mention that because like
yeah,
agencies that we work with, people that know what they're doing, they love this. They come in and set it up, but there might be some people listening in here that don't even know what they should be checking. And that's where we can come in and help with that, which is
yeah,
insanely valuable for them.
totally. And I realize I have this like resource, I like really organized all about this stuff, but it's like it's a lot of content. So to be able to just book a call and just like talk with someone, to explain bidding in a way that's like one on one, it's pretty
Yeah.
valuable. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that and also everybody, not most everybody has like their own little nuanced way of thinking
yeah,
about it, looking at it. That's another value of our tool is it allows you to be flexible enough to create it your own way in a sense.
yeah,
Whereas there's a lot of other tools out there that are black box. You can't go and create this system and structure for yourself.
yeah. Cool. So let's jump on to related to this would be like a placement bid review. And this is something I also recommend to do, about once a week as well. Hit that weekly, just like that. So placement bid review connected to individual bid review. But one thing I'd like to do is we have this column here for bidding adjustment, which shows you some of your bid adjustments on a per sort of area basis. And there's a couple different things that I recommend that people do. The first is double check you have placement bids at all. So basically, I can see here that I have a whole bunch of campaigns with no placement bid, right? So that's why we have this column that allows you to see, like, do you have a product page or top of search type adjustment? So that's the first thing that I would recommend people do. And then the second thing I would do is a really easy, placement bids. I can talk for hours and hours on. I definitely recommend people go and check out. We have this resource about understanding placement bids. But if you want a quick sort of hack about how to handle placement bids, the easiest thing I would say is and again, this is a demo account, so you can see that it's a little incomplete. But the easiest thing I would recommend is like if your ACoS is good, give it a little bump. So essentially what I mean there is like if you're in this account, my top of search ACoS is really, really strong. I can just come in here and say, okay, great, I'm going to kick it up a notch. I'm going to push it to 135. And it could be as simple as that, right? You come in here, you view your campaigns, and you get your work done. Now, one thing that we do that a lot of people like is like you can track your individual sales by platform, sales by placement over time. So you can go back in time, like the last 30 days, and as you make your adjustments, you can see how specifically sales on top of search is impacted by a top of search change. This really blows people's minds too, because when you look at it in most places, you're just viewing top of search last 30 days. But what if you made a change like 2 weeks ago? How do you actually see that change take place? So this is something that I absolutely love that we've done, where it's like if you wanted to isolate just on top of search, so like let's get rid of rest of search and product page, and if I just want to look at sales and orders, or clicks and sales on just top of search over time, imagine this: like let's say on March 1st you lowered your top of search, and then you can see like, oh wow, like my top of search now isn't performing as well as it was in the past. I love this feature because it tells you how each individual top of search is doing over time. Or if you wanted to compare your top of search sales versus your rest of product page sales and your rest of search sales, you can see that. And again, this is a demo account, but what a lot of people might see is like, oh wow, my product page sales are way higher than my top of search sales or something like that. You might find something like this where here's the sales for top of search, sort of is very low since the beginning of March, and then I can go and view my sales for product page. It's much higher. after March. So if I made changes, I'd be able to sort of see the impact of those changes, which is really great. So once a week, check in on your placement bids. And the easy, most simple advice is nudge up a few percentage points if strong, or do opposite. So that's the next thing that I would sort of touch on. Another thing to do, which I always like to reserve for sort of Thursdays, is just a budget check. And this is something that could get done weekly as well. Basically, it's like a budget check. You want to see like how are you pacing? Does anything need more budget, basically? And this is something that I like to do weekly as well. And in terms of doing it inside Ad Badger, that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. A similar process to what you would do inside Amazon. You would just basically find that status budget limited. So we actually tell you if it's a budget limited right next to the campaigns, and none of these are in this demo account. But basically, what I'm looking for is like, does anything need more budget or less budget? That's a pretty straightforward one. Let's get into one that I like to reserve. I like to reserve Fridays for like reporting days or like summary days. And I call this like a ratio check. And I think ratios are even more valuable than what the actual number is, if that makes sense. So here's what I mean by ratios. There's a couple different ratios that I like to look at. The first thing I like to look at is performance by match type. So let me add that here. So the reason I like performance by match type so well, and I'll just shrink the time frame here. The reason I like performance by match type so well is because it tells you, am I too loose or too tight? So for example, you want to ask yourself questions like, am I spending too much on broad? Am I not spending enough on exact? Like these are the types of questions that you can discover. Now, again, I'm not coming in here and going, okay, match type is broad. I'm not doing that every week. What I am doing is I'm just saving this filter, broad match keywords, save and apply, that's it. And then the next time I come in, like once a week when I log in, I can just go directly to save filters and hit my broad match right there, apply it. So I have a broad match filter, I just click it. I have an exact match filter, I just click it. And then I scroll through and I sort of get that level of analysis really quick so I can see how much am I spending on broad, phrase, exact. So be sure to save those filters and use them very regularly. So that's one that I'll look at. Another one that I look at is spend by search term order amount. This one's a real money one. This is an amazing sort of set of ratios. We actually have it tucked away in ad trends, but way down at the bottom here, what this is search term spend by order amount. So let me say that again. Search term spend by order amount. What this is telling me, it's telling me a couple different things. It's telling me that how much did I spend on things with 0 orders? Now, again, this is a demo account, but for some people, they spend the most money on search terms with no orders. And this tells you very quickly. And then it tells you how much you spent on search terms with 1 order and 2 orders, 3, 4, and 5 plus. So it saves so much time because it's as if you came to your search terms tab and created that filter where it's like search term orders equals 0, and it just gives it to you right there. So instead of coming here and doing like orders equals 0, which is still pretty fast, so you can call this like 0 order search terms, and you can just save that filter and just come here and click on it. What's cool about the previous thing that we just looked at is that it gives it to you visual, which is really nice. So then you just see exactly how much you spent on things with 0 orders. Then you can flick it to things with 1 orders. So that's why I really like that setup. And this is definitely a weekly thing for me because I want to see how that's trending up and down. So for sure. So that's a good one. Ad spend by campaign type. We actually have ad spend by campaign type right underneath. And this is showing you change over time. So time frame A, you can see I spent a bunch on sponsored brands. And previously I didn't spend anything on sponsored products. So it's just sort of showing me how my ad spend has changed over time, which is really nice.
What would be some real quick insights as to what that would help with? I bring that up to people. I want to know.
Yeah. So the first thing is you want a majority of your spend on sponsored products.
Yeah.
Because it's generally the highest converting. So in an account like this, I would generally say this is a really good move. You're spending more on sponsored product. That should be converting the best. So that's the first thing that I'll look at. So it should be like anywhere from maybe 50 to 70% is on sponsored products. And then a little bit less on sponsored brand, and then the least on sponsored display, generally speaking. There might be some people that have different initiatives, like they really want to do top of funnel. So they have crazy sponsored display, crazy high sponsored display. But for the most part, I would say that's the general trend you'd want to follow. Sponsored product, 50% or more, usually. Sponsored display, anywhere from like 25-ish% to maybe 35, 40, 35%. And then 5 to 10% on sponsored display. That's a general good trend. So this just sort of tells you how
Be like
close
a
you are.
quick spot check,
Yeah.
make sure everything's in the correct percentage.
Yeah, for
Cool.
sure. Other ratios that I like to look at, and there's a bunch of them. We have a report card that gives you some of these ratios too, which I really like. I won't get into them now because we're getting a little short on time, but it tells you like how much you're spending on really low converting keywords, tells you how much you're spending on really strong converting keywords. So I really like that component there. But for the most part, let's move on. The next thing I would say is search term analysis. So search term analysis, really useful. And this again, I would call it for a lot of accounts a weekly task. And there's lots of ways to do search term analysis. The first being would be like, what's the ratio of your spend on search terms? So how much are you spending on things that are converting or barely converting, very strong, things like that. So going into search terms, it's really nice. So it's a sort of like bucket-based search term analysis, which is what we do first. So it's like buckets of performance. And we can call this saved filters, basically. So you have your saved filters for search terms, like very high ACOS, and it's just sort of reminding you to add as a negative. So this allows you to do sort of filter-based optimization really fast. So here I have one candidate to add as a negative, and I can block this search term, and I have some options about where I want to pause it and how I want to pause it. If I want, I can select specific ad groups or a specific portfolio or campaign. Like if I wanted it to appear to be blocked in a certain portfolio, I can go ahead and do that. So that's sort of like the first level of search term analysis. The second is duplicate, like dupe check. So inside Ad Badger, one of my favorite things to do is look at the search term duplicate hunter. So when you press this button, basically what it does for you live is it just goes and tries to find all of your duplicate search terms and then and then it informs if you should take any action. So you can see here, I have a search term, animal themed wallets. It appears in 515. It's triggered by 515 things in 71 ad groups in 62 campaigns. What this allows me to do is like, okay, animal themed wallets is doing pretty good by itself. It has a ACOS of 53%. But if that's the average, surely there's some with a higher or lower ACOS. So here I have a 14% ACOS, but this, when it appears in this ad group, it's 71%. So it's too high over here. So I can sort of take adjustments here. I can like reduce the budget, I can move it, I can pause it, I can add it as a negative, whatever I need to do there. So it allows me to sort of do these quick scans and tell and find out like, oh, when it's over here, it's 82% ACOS. I better pause that. Does that make sense? Like the duplicate, like the impact of duplicates is something that you want to be aware of. Like, where is my one search term appearing in multiple places? Let me go address that and take some action there. Love that feature. And then the last sort of search term analysis, this is relatively new in our app, but I absolutely love it, is the Ngram Explorer. I've got lots of presentations on Ngrams. I won't get too far into it now. I'll just sort of demo what this looks like. And this is our demo account. So it'll take a second, but basically what it's doing is that it's combing through all your search term reports, creating an Ngram analysis for us. Fun fact about the demo server, it's running off of a cell phone. But anyway, really, really cool. When I show this to people, it really blows their mind. So basically, like, most search terms are like 1 or 2 clicks. And what this does, this sort of combines all the information from each individual word. So like Badger keychains in New York, Badger themed flip-flops, Badger theme. So like basically everywhere where the word Badger appears, I can see the level of performance. So Ngram analysis is something so important to do. So I highly recommend that people sort of like jump in, do some Ngram analysis, learn about Ngram analysis. I'm going really fast here, but like, the word animal, where does that appear? Or if I go to 2 grams, it's like the pairing of words in my search term. So like Badger gloves, how often does that appear? What is the performance of all the search terms with Badger gloves? So Badger gloves in New York, Badger themed Badger gloves, Badger themed Badger gloves again. So again, this is a demo account, but it basically is combining all of these search terms into a way that, okay, in aggregate, they get a 58% ACOS, but when it's over here, I have a 33% ACOS. I have an 8% ACOS here. Let me go ahead and take action on like the 46% ACOS because it's not converting that well. Do you talk to people about the Ngrams usually? I know I've talked a lot about it in like webinars and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's one of our newest features inside of the app. So yeah, I mean, I bring it up now. I do feel as though it's kind of like second level, third level of optimization. So there's some people that aren't even aware of it, which is cool. They got to do those fundamentals that we're talking about, these systems, build that up, so then they can go and spend that extra time on optimization. So people are excited about it.
The thing I would say about Ngrams, to really understand Ngrams, if you go to your search term report and you say, show me all the things with less than 5 clicks. Now this is a demo account, but if you say, go to your search term report, how many things do you have below 5 clicks? It's going to be a mountain of search terms. So in this case, we have 5,000. So like this only has 4 clicks. All these things only have 4 clicks. So like generally what you get is a mountain of search terms with only like 4 or 5, 2 clicks. What do you do with them? And you can't do much with them except an Ngram analysis, because then you could combine all the similar information. So show me everywhere where the word wallet is appearing, or what about animal and wallet? You can see all your aggregate search term performance with all the terms wallets in. So I can go over here and I can go to targeting, I can go to Ngram Explorer, and I can find wallets in my 1 gram. I can find wallet, and then I can see every single search term with the word wallet. How did it do? So I would go and find wallet, and now all of a sudden I have a glimpse into every single search term with the word wallet and how it's performing and where it performed, and maybe why it's performing so good in one spot and not another. So like that's how I would sort of do search term analysis for sure. Let's go relatively quickly. We are on a 10-minute warning here. Another thing I would definitely do, and it looks like our Wednesday is pretty light. I would do day parting analysis.
Mm.
I said one time that like the ability to do day parting has changed bidding because it used to be just one bid, and now you have 168 sort of blocks of time to do your analysis. And we are on a time crunch here, but if I just jump in just to sort of show what it looks like, time breakdown.
Product performance.
Oh yeah,
Hourly.
go into product
Hourly data.
performance, hourly data, and go back in time. Can I go back far enough? I know this is like another demo account.
Yeah, I don't think it had, and then it doesn't have any.
Yeah. Okay. So next level of analysis that I do is just time analysis. Is there any product that deserves more or less time certain hours of the day? And what this allows me to do is like, oh, okay, on Mondays is when I do most of my orders. On Sunday, I do almost no orders. Wouldn't it be smart of me to spend a lot more on Monday, to get more aggressive on Monday and spend a little less on Sunday? So I can do things like reduce my spending on Sunday. I could say decrease my bids by 10% on Sunday. I barely do any sales. But on Monday, increase my bids 25%. So it allows me to sort of take action on specific times of day, which is really, really nice. So that's the next thing I'll do. And then we're going to wrap here because I've been going on a while about this, but I'll finish with a really simple task. I'll call it monthly campaign name checks. Really simple. So we'll call this monthly campaign name checks, and we will just do this once a month. Now, what is a campaign name check? So if you're unfamiliar about naming a campaign, I have a pretty solid piece of content. We created this content way long ago. This is in September 2022. But basically, what you want are really well organized campaigns. So the way that I just check this, I just log into Campaign Manager. Let me go back to okay, we can stay here. So basically, you want a really well organized campaign naming process. And we have some good examples here and we have some, bad examples. So this just says SB Badgers, but is this a sponsored brand video campaign? Is it a product collection sponsored brand? Is this a store spotlight campaign? We basically want to be more organized. So you can see here, all you do once a month is just see if anything should be renamed. So I have a campaign here. It's just GDGS. But what actually is it? Well, it's a sponsored product auto campaign. So I'm just going to relabel this sponsored product auto, the product, maybe a target ACOS, an ACOS of 30%. Now, why would I do this? It's because the next time I come in here, I can just find it so much easier. So if I wanted to find all my auto campaigns, I have two options. One, I can just search the name just like this, and there it is. I could, of course, use a saved filter as well. But that's just a sort of nice quality of life hack, just to make your Amazon advertising a lot easier. So there's a lot of concepts. And I just wanted to invite anybody who is watching this. We can go over these concepts one-on-one. We're actually developing a program which basically takes our Amazon PPC training. And, you can see here, we have like a learning calendar when we work with people and we coach them. In this first category, it's like Amazon PPC goal setting and goal tracking. We talk about bid sculpting. We talk about research, peel, stick, and block. We talk about how to use bulk files. We talk about advanced Amazon topics like single keyword campaigns. We talk about a lot of stuff. And basically what we recently started doing was like, you'll get paired up with an Amazon PPC coach and an Amazon PPC software specialist. and you get a discounted membership on our software. So basically, it allows you to get the software subscription for cheaper and get additional training. So you have like a coaching call and you have a software call where you can like learn the software really good and learn these concepts really good. I'm actually really excited about this program. Um, we haven't launched it yet, but it's going to be going out to our newsletter. So be sure to be on our newsletter list when we launch it. I believe we're launching it very soon. So I'm really stoked about this. And this is something that I know that internally we're really excited to begin to offer because it's basically going to fill in any knowledge gap, any strategy gap, because we're going to be getting strategy coaching and software coaching all at once. So I'm really excited about this to come out. I know people have asked for this, Michael.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely valuable. Another thing is people that are already high level, high strategy. I think part of it as well is just accountability. I mean, having somebody that you're like, hey, I'm checking in with, and like, this is what I worked on. I got a different perspective on it from people that get to see a ton of different accounts. So yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of it is for like foundational, maybe newer people, but some of those high level PPCers, I think would really benefit from it as well. Just getting them back into the foundation, the foundational stuff, the core stuff.
I've always thought that's what made Ad Badger so special, because we're like more than just a software. Like we really want people to succeed, right? And if you just give someone a software, it's not enough, right? Like you want to fill in some of these knowledge. You want to be there to like go arm in arm, and it's not just beginners that sign up with coaching. Like we've had publicly traded companies send people into our coaching, so it's been really cool to experience that. So I'm super stoked on this.
Yeah,
but
and they come back year after year. We've had a couple of big companies come back, year after year and do like get their team kind of retooled, leveled up, focused. So I love it. Again, that's a big difference. I always tell people we're like an extension to their team, not just the software tool. And I think that's one of the X factors of what we offer, and people are realizing like you just can't set it and forget it. There's some of those other tools out there. Like they allure you that you don't have to get in and check it. And it's just, look, people are realizing now you still got to be on top of it. PPC's, I think it's getting harder. Is it? You would know. You've been in
every
the game
year
for a long time. It's getting harder.
Every year for sure. Yeah.
You got to be on it. That's it.
Awesome. Well, we've done it, Michael. Another successful monthly webinar.
Nice. Yeah. And I don't know if that tool will be available for other people to click up, or I don't know, something to share with some of our users. Or
let's share the ClickUp link too. Let's share the ClickUp link. Let's share the ClickUp link. Where's the ClickUp link? Oh yeah, we can take that and share that. That way we can just get people, they could check it out. Oh man, got the allergies. Okay, I'll drop this in the chat here in just a second. Alrighty, I'll drop it in. Well, anyway, thank you for listening, everyone.
And hit us up. Let me do this too. Hold on.
Hit them up.
Put in the link. Book a demo with us.
There you go.
Alrighty. A lot to offer.
Have a good one, everyone. And I'll see you next month here on the PPC Den webinar. Adios.